Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, that's going to take us around the 14th of July. And we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles, which run to around a couple of weeks. So we're heading off into the second half of the month, really, with a week to 10 day video updates now. So, get on that for you very shortly, just to say that the first video released today was the July month-ahead forecast. Very difficult month to pin down this July. There's a lot of disagreement with the model output. We're going for a month of two halves. The first half, relatively quiet, fairly dry, quite warm, but not hot. And then the second half becomes much more lively, much more volatile. Could be some heavy rain at times. Also, potential for it to get a bit hotter, I think, later in the month. Potentially bringing on some thunder. So have a look at the July month-ahead forecast when you've done with this video. So we'll get on with it for you right now. We're going to start off by having a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top. And the GFS on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue extrapolates to low pressure. These mean flow charts are from last night, by the way. They haven't been updated at Penn State University to take into account today's midnight runs. So these are from yesterday's midday runs. But I think they're still broadly relevant for setting up the overall pattern. So you see that with the ECMWF, we've got the trough of below average heights extending through the northeast of Europe. That's a cold trough. Going to be sinking the jet stream southwards in the 500 millibar flow. So unsettled and cool through the eastern part of Europe. Got northern blocking still up here. There's above average height sitting in the Norwegian Sea between Greenland and Norway. And then coming further south into the North Atlantic, you've got this low pressure just here that's sort of heading across the Atlantic, but with a weakening jet stream. So that's probably bringing gently unsettled conditions in the week to 10 day sort of time frame. Rather westerly, so it's not going to be particularly warm, but it won't be particularly cold either probably, and just gently unsettled. Now, the GFS has a little bit more influence from high pressure in the 7 to 10 day time frame. So, you've got the same idea of this big trough across the eastern and northeastern parts of Europe. So, the jet stream dipping southwards like that. And that's going to bring unsettled and cool conditions to eastern and northeastern parts of Europe. Has this area of above average heights going in the Norwegian Sea, but this time it's extending down sort of into the west of Europe, with this low pressure in the Atlantic being held at bay a little bit more. So with this, the jet stream is going something like that's a split in the jet. That's like a bit of a cut-off low over Spain. So that's a more settled scenario in the 7 to 10 day time frame. You'd expect a reasonable amount of dry, if not particularly warm weather. It wouldn't be a heat wave, but it would be a fair amount of dry weather on offer with that one. GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking like this. Let's go to London today. So red on here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for London, and we're starting off quite warm at the moment. Today, tomorrow will be fairly warm. Temperatures dropping away through the weekend and into the start of next week. It will go rather chilly. And then we go into the middle part of July, into the second half of the month. Again, we're just keeping those upper air temperatures fairly close to average. Precipitation-wise, a lot of dry weather coming up over the next few days. A little bit of precipitation being forecast there for around Sunday. And after that, pretty dry as we go into next week, gradually turning a little bit more unsettled around the middle part of the month and then into the second half of July. But again, those aren't particularly big rainfalls, but it's not a convincing unsettled spell of weather. So I would suggest, certainly for the next week or 10 days, relatively dry conditions continue in the southeast corner. Temperature anomalies from the 4th to the 12th of July, a little bit cooler than average, a little bit below average, as is for many parts of Europe. It's just really southern France, Spain, Portugal, and then some parts of the Mediterranean and North Africa that look warmer. But really, it is quite a coolish scene, actually, in the week ahead across many parts of Europe. It's still relatively dry. precipitation anomalies from the 4th to 12th of July. Overall, rather drier than average for much of the UK. That's how things are looking on Sunday then. So we've got high pressure slipping out to west of us, winter turning into the north. So it will be getting cooler over the weekend, but still with quite an influence of high pressure through the weekend and into next week, bringing a lot of dry weather to many parts of the country. It won't be completely dry, but will be showers around, but fairly dry conditions lasting with this ridge into the early part of next week. Just temperatures are going to be a little bit on the lowly side, especially at night. Some chilly nights could return early next week. That's Wednesday. We're under a ridge of high pressure, looking fairly dry and quiet. Into the second half of next week, things go a little bit slacker, so that could be allowing some showers to break out. So showers probably breaking out in the second half of next week. But I would have thought the emphasis is still, even then, on fairly dry conditions, really. Heading up towards day 10, this area of low pressure deepens to the north of Scotland, so that does bring much more unsettled conditions into the north. And we may start to see outbreaks of rain by day 10, spreading southwards and eastwards across many parts of the country, although for the far south and southeast, it looks like we're still even then more or less under that ridge of high pressure. Into the more extended range, very slowly we see signs that things are turning more unsettled. So, I mean, for example, this is a long way out. It's Thursday, the 18th of July. But this does look like it could be a little bit more volatile. There's low pressure pushing up from the south. We've got low pressure out to the north and west too. So gradually, there's a pincer movement going on there into the second half of July. And things will be turning a lot more unsettled by that point, I would have thought. We actually finish up looking rather autumnal by the time you get through to Saturday the 20th of July. I mean, it's 384 hours away, so it's not worth worrying about, but it does look wet and windy. An indication that from around the sort of middle part of the month onwards, things are gradually turning more unsettled. It's not a quick process. Things are gradually turning more unsettled in line with what we've gone for in the July month-end forecast. GEM is looking like that. So on Saturday again, we bring this cold front southwards. We're going to have some showers along it, but I think many of the showers will die out by the time it gets into the south-southeast. And then we just pull down some cooler, fresh air from the north. Then more or less under high pressure through the early part of next week with this ridge just here. That should bring fair amount of dry and quite warm weather through the early to middle part of next week. The second half of next week, again, same idea. This is Thursday, 11th of July, a week away. Same idea. Low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, starting to turn more unsettled, begin to get a little bit more showery then. As we head up towards day 10, looks like things are deteriorating rather more quickly with the GEM. It's a bit more progressive in the deterioration. So by day 10, excuse me, certainly the 14th of July, we are into a genuinely unsettled spell of weather by then. Remember, the GFS is a little bit delayed with that. It's a little bit more into the second half of the month. And then the ECMWF again looks like this, so a lot of dry weather around over the weekend and into next week with this ridge of high pressure. It could be showers at times, probably most likely in the east, but the emphasis will be on dry weather through the early part of the week. Then the second half of next week, this trough comes in from off the Atlantic. That could bring more unsettled conditions, certainly more showery conditions, let's say, into the second half of next week. And temperatures take a little bit of a dip as well. But as we go towards day 10, the high pressure begins to re-establish itself actually quite nicely. So this is how we're looking on Sunday the 14th of July. And the high pressure is building up from the southwest up. We're bringing dry and warm weather back across many parts of the country, sort of in line with what the GFS is showing. Remember, the GFS doesn't have a real breakdown until we get into the second half of the month, although there is that more showery interlude for 2 or 3 days at the end of next week. Let's have a look at the scenarios that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today at day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. This is for the 14th of July. We have 22 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational and control run. The operational run is the run we was just looking at, but have this ridge of high pressure building up from the southwest and pushing the jet stream northwards. Obviously, that is the driest and warmest scenario on offer, although these 15 just here actually look pretty good. Again, the ridge is building through the country and going up to the northeast. So those 22 and those 15 have us in a dry and warm scenario at day 10. Got 7 here that look much more unsettled. Trough of below average heights over just to the east of the country with the mid-Atlantic ridge. Obviously, that is a much more unsettled and cooler scenario, but only 7 doing that. And then there's another 7, so that's a 14 in total, but again have this mid-Atlantic ridge, but which is a bit closer to us. The trough is more towards our east, so again that's quite a cool scenario. That's bring winds in from the north, but it's not quite as unsettled. So we've got 7 and 7 that are rather cool and unsettled at day 10. And then we've got 22 and 15 that are much more settled and much warmer. So it looks as though at day 10 anyway, the ECM ensembles are very much trending towards drier and warmer conditions. In 2 weeks' time, these are the scenarios that we've got, and things looking rather different then. So this is for the 19th of July. We have 24 members of the ECM ensembles by this point, with a trough of low pressure over the top and just to the east of the country. Jet stream is pushed southwards in that sort of direction. 15 with a mid-Atlantic ridge, so that's a drier option, but it's pretty cool. Winds are in from the north. And then there's 12 with high pressure up over Scandinavia and low pressure sort of over top of the country. That could be unsettled and potentially a bit volatile. That might be quite warm. Could be bringing winds up from the south or southeast with that, but also rather thundery potential with that one. So things certainly looking more interesting there as we go into the second half of the month, looking potentially a lot more unsettled, but the way that unsettled weather arrives, of course, differs from sort of ensemble member to ensemble member. Finally, just have a look at charts from the Beijing Climate Centre. Now, we included the Beijing Climate Centre in the month-end forecast, but I thought we'd break this down into 10-day periods today so you can see what the Beijing Climate Centre is showing over the next sort of 40 days. So days 1 through to 10 look like this. It's the 6th to the 15th of July. We have above average heights to the west of the country, below average heights are to our east, and if come over here to our northeast. Flow jet stream doing something like that. So there's a lot of dry weather on offer in the next 10 days. It's not too bad. High pressure is quite close to us. The Atlantic's blocked off. Won't be particularly unsettled, but it could be a little bit on the cool side. Certainly not particularly warm. But again, with a lot of dry weather to enjoy. The next 10-day period, days 11 through to 20, look very different. This is the 16th through to the 25th of July. And below average heights then appear over and to the west of the country. Got above average heights being pushed up towards Scandinavia. And obviously we're bringing in a westerly flow with this. So much more unsettled, a much more unsettled scenario, much wetter scenario as we go into the second half of July. Then the next 10-day period, which is days 21 through to 30, 26th of July to the 4th of August, has the above average heights down to our southwest, below average heights out to the northwest, and the flow of the jet is going to be going something a bit like that. And then we go through to the final 10-day period, which is days 31 to 40. This takes us from the 5th to the 14th of August. So heading towards the middle part of August. Now, can you believe, with these longer range charts, I mean, it was beginning to run down the clock on the summer of 2019. Barely seemed like it had any summer yet, but we're already starting to run down the clock on the summer of 2019 with these extended range charts. And still looking quite unsettled, actually. Above average heights to our south, below average heights to the north, northwest, and westerlies come in rather like that. So the Beijing Climate Centre is definitely suggesting something rather cooler and rather more unsettled as we go into the second half of July. Certainly more unsettled anyway, with low pressure heading in off the Atlantic. That's the kind of thing we've gone for in the July forecast. So the first half of July relatively dry, quite quiet. Then the second half of July livens up a fair amount. We shall see how it goes. I mean, we've got quite a bit of uncertainty even for next week within the exact detail of the weather anyway. So I think just need to wait and see how this plays out over the next day or two. Right, so we'll be back tomorrow with Jeremy Friday. That's your month ahead look ahead. We'll also have a week to 10-day video update tomorrow as well. Don't forget to check out the July month ahead forecast if you haven't yet done so. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.